This is Brisbane Lions star Jonathan Brown, the co-captain and leading goal kicker. His career was defined by fearlessness and courage when going for the ball. Earlier this year, he sustained his third serious concussion in the space of a few years, two of which were accompanied by a fractured skull. He was advised by his doctors to make the safe choice and throw in the towel, removing the further risk of damaging himself, to which he immediately undertook. Instances of concussions like these are very common in AFL, with 6 to 7 incidents occurring per team per season. So it begs the question, what is a concussion? A concussion is an injury to the head which occurs as a direct result of trauma. After a blow to the head, spinal fluids act as cushions to stop the brain from crashing against the walls of the skull. However, with a great impact, these fluids will not be enough, and inertia will cause the brain to collide with the skull, causing instant trauma. Symptoms of a concussion may include a temporary headache, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, balance issues, sensitivity to light, and inability to concentrate, faulty short-term memory, anxiety, and insomnia. A period of amnesia or not recalling what has happened is essential to the diagnosis of a concussion. Concussions are so common in AFL because, unlike other popular sports where play is generally 180 degrees, impacts can come from any direction. There is no offside rule in AFL. All 18 players on both teams can be on any part of the field at any time. Not only that, but there are many ways other than tackling to sustain a head injury. Shepherding, marking contests have less and less restrictions upon contact, and most things will be allowed as long as the player is targeting the ball. Even the ball can cause a concussion. On its own, a concussion is not life-threatening, and symptoms will usually wear off entirely within a week. Ever since the NFL was sued by thousands of retired players for hiding the dangers of a concussion, research into the long-term effects of these injuries has been underway. One particular study, hosted by Deakin University, followed 40 retired AFL players, each of whom had experienced a concussion and discovered a reduction in fine motor skills and abnormal brain function. While these long-term effects are still under research, it has been found that multiple successive concussions can lead to a mild cognitive impairment and chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or progressive degeneration of the brain. And accordingly, the conclusion has been reached that multiple concussions and/or frequent subconcussive blows have a serious long-term effect upon the brain. So what can be done to prevent concussions in the AFL? Well, first and foremost is education, ensuring that players know what a concussion is and the dangers associated with them. With this knowledge, a player can tell that they themselves or a teammate have been concussed, and are more likely to come off and receive proper treatment. If you keep playing with the concussion, the symptoms may make you more susceptible to another one, which will amplify the effect. Another safety measure is headgear. One day, headgear may be made compulsory in the big leagues. However, there is little evidence that protective headgear is an effective injury prevention measure in Australian football. Headgear is also surrounded by the concern that if a player feels protected by it, they may be more likely to put themselves at risk of other injuries and subconcussive hits. Finally, there is the changing of rules. As a result of ongoing research, new rules and guidelines have been put in place to prevent the instances of concussion within AFL. Some of the new guidelines include: players diagnosed with concussions cannot take any further part in the game. Players suspected of concussions must undergo concussion testing and only be allowed back to play if they pass. Similar guidelines have been added to junior AFL clubs, where it is believed that a hidden epidemic of unreported concussions lurk. Additionally, rules have been implemented include the substitution rule, a stricter policy of dangerous tackles, clarity on negligent and reckless behaviour in tackling situations, including the sling tackle. With all that said, research is still underway into the long-term effects of concussions and how they should be treated. In the US, a brain bank has started allowing neurologists to analyze the long-term physical effects of multiple concussions, as well as the countless other studies following retired sports players.